River 1-1, cleared on. Bro, I went off safe 2-way. Boom! 1-1, good hit. 3, 2, 1, fight toss.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Mondays with Mover. I am Mover CW Lemoyne. I hope you guys are having a great 2021 so far for the first Monday of the new year. Today we're going to talk about dropping bombs in the Hornet, more specifically dropping live bombs in the F-18. One of my favorite missions, in fact, when I was at VFA 204 was to go out and do close air support with Joint Terminal Attack Controllers, JTACs, because our mission was not only training fighters as Red Air, but we also did a lot of training with JTACs up in Shelby, Mississippi, or Camp Shelby, Mississippi, and Fort Polk at the live range there. I'm going to talk mostly about Navy stuff in this video, but I will interject some Air Force stuff. Don't have any video from the Air Force. This is the video you're going to see is a mix of this video I've taken while I was flying at VFA 204, all approved by the skipper at the time, but video from going out to the range, dropping lives, and some from my Finney flight that you've seen. None of them have comm, so the only comm you'll hear is actually from my Finney flight, where I was able to pick up some of the comm off of that. So it won't match what you're seeing, but it's just for demonstration purposes. Leading up to dropping live bombs, typically what we would do would be go out and actually drop what's called Mark 76s, or in the Air Force BDU 33s, and there are smoke charges that you drop, and it can give you a good spot of where the bomb would have hit. So it gives you the ability, depending on what kind of rack you're carrying, it could be 6, it could be 12 total. BDU 33s or Mark 76s that you're carrying. So in the Air Force, the way we would lead up to it is we would go out and do BSA, basic surface attack. And in doing that, we'd have the container pattern and go fly with the Ranger. In the Navy, they call it circle the wagons, or at least they did it at VFA 204. And you go out and you drop with a range controller on a target, and he'd give you a score every time you dropped. But typically, when working with a JTAC, we would go out and do close air support missions. And we would do it mostly dry or with the Mark 76s or whatever up at Camp Shelby. And that's with a qualified JTAC, usually someone that's upgrading to become a JTAC, or they just needed training to keep their currency because they have a currency as well. And we'd go out and check in and get a talk on to a target and do simulated attacks as well, do as many as we can until we reached our bingo fuel to come back home. After that, we had an allocation of bombs. Typically at VFA 204, we flew with Mark 83s, which are 1,000-pound general purpose munition bombs. So not guided, it had no guidance kit like a laser guided bomb or a JDAM, joint direct attack munition, which is a GPS bomb. So they're just ballistically falling based on our parameters at roll-in. So the difference between dropping Mark 76s or being simulated and dropping live is, first off, where you find the jet. Mark 76s and BDU 33s don't have any special requirements for arming. They can put them right there at the standard sunshades where we always have the jets, and then they arm them up either at end of runway in the Air Force or final checkers in the Navy. But the difference for the Navy and Air Force is when you drop live, you have to go to what's called the Live Ordnance Loading Area. It's called the LOLA. And that is a special place in a different part of the airport, away from any buildings or anything dangerous, where they can park the jets and load the live bombs. Because, I mean, think about it. What happens if one of the bombs were to go off or something like that? So they park them well away from anything that could be dangerous, because it is dangerous. I mean, they are real bombs. And they load them up, and that's where the jet's parked. VFA 204, they would drive us out there in a van, and then we would do our pre-flight. Pre-flight's a little different when you're actually carrying stuff. The biggest thing, you're making sure, one, that it's a live bomb. So usually the way you can tell if live bomb versus concrete bomb, quickest way is look at the yellow stripe. The yellow stripe indicates that it's a live bomb. And so doing the pre-flight fusing is important, making sure that you have what your correct fusing setting for what your mission is. There's different options like instantaneous, which means the bomb goes off as soon as it hits something, or it can have a delay so that it actually, it's not a penetrator bomb, but it actually has a delay once it hits, and then it'll explode. Or there's air bursts. There's all kind of different fusing settings and stuff. So after that, in startup, everything in startup is pretty much the same. It's all stuff that you've practiced before in getting everything set up. The only difference is now the jet recognizes, or at least in the F-18, the jet recognizes that, hey, there's something on the aircraft, and you're making sure that it all matches up with what you actually have, so that it does realize that, you know, hey, I've got a couple Mark 83s out there and they're correct. From there, we taxi out. Taxi out is all about the same.
Ground, River 11, flight of 2, taxi from the Kilo to runway 4. River 11, calendar ground, runway 4, taxi via taxiway Kilo Alpha, cross 14, Lima Papa. Kilo Alpha, cross 14, Lima Papa, River 11.
And then taking off, just a normal takeoff. You're not really going to fly over populated areas with the bombs, but there's nothing wrong with it as long as the bomb's in a safe configuration. If it's not a hung bomb, you can absolutely fly over just about anything because it's not dangerous. Going out to the airspace, like I said, at VFA 204, we did these as close air support missions, so going up to Fort Polk at the ranges up there. So as you saw on my Finney flight video, the biggest thing with close air support is it's a comm drill between yourself and the Joint Terminal Attack Controller. So the first thing you're doing is you're checking in. So,
River 11. River 11, Black Cat. You're approved into the overhead. Go as fire attack. River 11, mission number 6969 to FA-18s. Position 22 miles to the east. 2 by Mark 83s apiece. 20 minutes on station. River 11, AP flare capable, aboard in the clear. Copy all, 23 miles to the east, aboard in the clear. Stand ready for situation update 20 Alpha. River 11, ready for update. Threats in the area possible, SA-7s and 14s. Targets are going to be enemy, mechs, and artillery. Friendlies are located at OP2, Quebec 958, 4 tree, friendly grid. Artillery is cold. Final control will be Black Cat 20. I am clear. Dagger 1 to 50 map. Cat 3 grid best. How copy? River 11, copy zone.
you're giving a fighter to fact brief, which says, here's who I am, what ordnance I have, what my capabilities are as far as sensors and targeting pods and stuff, and how long I have on station with the tools that I have to help the JTAC. Once that's done, he gives the fact to fighter brief. So then he gives the area of operations update. So give me the situation update. Let me know what the threats are, what they're currently working on, because it helps me build my situational awareness picture. It tells what's going on down there and how can I effectively help them. And then they'll give me the friendly position, and that's an important thing to know. It's very important, and you hear him say friendly grid, friendly grid, friendly grid, because I want to know where his position is so that I don't inadvertently drop near or on his position, and I want to make sure I can keep track of him at all times. So I'm tally the target and then visual the friendlies. They also will clear you into various ways. I'm not going to get into the nuance of CAS, whether it's keyhole or just into the overhead in this scenario. And for most of the scenarios with live bombs, it's that we've done, we're in what's called the CAS wheel, and both fighters are in the wheel flying formation. We don't fly close formation. We usually fly a mile and a half apart across the circle from each other, because that's the easiest way. One can roll in and then the other one roll in as well. For a live attack, when we're actually going to the range, the first thing we're going to do is a dry run, whether that's through a simulated attack or we just do a dip check, fly low, and that's to check the target, to make sure there's no people, there's no animals, there's nothing that's near the specific target that we could inadvertently drop a live bomb on. So we'll go check that real quick and then get right back into the overhead. So prior to the talk on, you get what's called the 9-line, and that's a special format of a brief that gives you all the targeting information.
7 ready for 9-line 20 Alpha. Alpha 1-1 ready. Game plan is as follows: type 2, bomb on target, dry pass followed by hot pass. 9-line is as follows: 1, 2, and 3 from the overhead, elevation 350 feet. The vetted artillery pieces: Victor, Quebec, 98215, 40378. No mark, friendlies northwest 3848 meters, egress back to the overhead, lead back lines 4 and 6. River 1-1.
Once you've got the 9-line, then you move on to the talk on. Obviously with live targets, there's not a whole lot of places we can drop, but it's still for good practice, we'll do what's called a talk on. And if you don't have an AT FLIR or they're not doing any kind of sensor work, it's just outside. And the way they work with the talk on is it's big to small. So they'll say call contact the largest feature out there, and sometimes it's a simulated airfield like at Shelby. You see call contact the airfield, contact. Then they'll break it down. Okay, the runway is 1 unit of measure, go 2 units of measure to the west, call contact whatever. And so they'll talk it on, and as we're going contact, 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 and then once they get to the target, they'll go that's your target, and you're going to tally target, and now your tally target and visual friendlies. And so you know where the target is. That's one way they can do it. They can talk you eyes onto it. That's called bombs on target. There's bombs on coordinate, where they can give you the coordinates of the target, and then you plug it into your system and you look at it and you confirm that's the same thing. You may not actually even see it. I mean, if it's a scenario where it's high quality coordinates and they give you the coordinates and you can go, okay, I can drop on that, especially if there's weather or something like that. That's usually more for combat. For dropping live bombs, you have to see the target, at Fort Polk where we would drop. But in combat, there are scenarios where you can just drop on the coordinates themselves as long as your system is good. So once we know where the target is, then I will talk to my wingman and we will get a fighter to fighter briefs. Now it's time to actually prosecute the attack. So for the attacks themselves, many different ways to do it. But for dropping GP, general purpose bombs in the F-18, we do diving deliveries. So they're we have what's called Z diagrams, and that gives you your base altitude, which is the altitude you start at, base distance, how far away you are when you roll in, and then your plan release, which is where you want to release the bomb, and then min release, which is the lowest you can release. Because remember, it's a real bomb. So if you drop too low and you press too low, you can actually frag yourself by pressing too low. So typically it can be anything from a 45-degree delivery, which means your nose is 45 degrees nose low, a 30-degree delivery, 20, or a 10. Typically we would do 30-degree deliveries. Those are very easy, more comfortable, and they match more with what you do at strafe, which is a 20 to 30-degree strafe. So it's very transferable between those two. So for the deliveries themselves, Navy and Air Force a little bit different. In the Air Force, once you're on range, master arm hot, you're not supposed to do any switch changes on final, so you don't mess with the master arm. In the Navy, the way I was briefed was always once you're in, some people waited till the cleared hot, some people just waited till they rolled in. That's when you go master arm on, so there's no chance of inadvertent release. Like in this video here, I'm coming in and bombing Leeds hits where he hit. And you can see when you drop, when 1,000 pounds comes off the aircraft, it does rock a little bit, and you can feel that it's gone. Both of them now, it just rocks both wings, and then you come off. So once you release the bomb, you track, and then now you're looking for what's called a safe escape maneuver. So the safe escape keeps you above the frag, and that's what everything's calculated on. So it's 5 Gs in 2 seconds to 20 degrees nose high, and then the touch 30 degrees, different for every aircraft. But you're doing this climbing safe escape maneuver to get away from the ground. You're not supposed to air score your bombs. I do sometimes, yeah. So you roll, crack the wings, pop off flares for training, and look over to see where the bomb hit. In these scenarios, the bomb hit exactly where Leeds hits were. And then you're back to the wheel. If you've got another bomb, then you would do the same thing again. Or if you drop both bombs, now everything is simulated after that.
130. River 11, cleared on.
Altitude. Altitude.
Roman off safe 2-way. 1-1, good hit. River 12, contact lead 10. Same position, 2.
So that's the diving delivery option for GP. Once that's done, now it's just simulated. Everything's simulated after that. We'll do strafe attacks unless we have real bullets, and then strafe, we got to make sure we have the strafe targets, and they're just talking us on to various targets and just rinse repeat. The last thing I'll talk about when you go to the range is what's called a show of force, which was one of my favorite things to do because it's cool. You get to go low, you get to go fast, and you get to make a lot of noise. And the thing about a show of force is it's kind of like the force continuum in law enforcement, right? Ask, tell, make. So it's used in a situation where they might be dealing directly with bad guys, or they may be in theater or something, maybe talking to locals or something like that, and there's a threat that's approaching but hasn't started shooting at them. They're not ready to drop. They just want to get their heads down. And so they'll have us come in and do a show of force, which basically there's two things. Show of presence, which is higher altitude, just lets them know, hey, we're here, you should know. And then show of force is we get down low, we make a lot of noise, and rattle their cages a little bit just to let them know this is your final warning. The next one's coming a lot faster. So, and we'll be a live bomb or bullet or whatever. So that's the reasoning behind the show of force. Once we're done with our range stuff, we'll check out. They'll give us BDA, let us know how we did in the scenario that they created, and then we'll do a battle damage check between us just to make sure everything's come off, nothing's inadvertently hit anything, like a bomb didn't, fin didn't hit a stab or something like that, or there was no damage to the aircraft, and then we come back home or do an alternate mission like BFM like I did in my Finney flight video. If there's an emergency, a hung bomb is kind of a big thing. So if that happens, or a hung gun, there are procedures that we can adhere to. If we can't jettison the bomb or pickle the bomb off on the range and we have to bring it back, then obviously we're flying to avoid populated areas. We're declaring an emergency, and then once we land, that's when the bomb's gonna be disarmed at the end of the runway, and or the gun or whatever. We've got specific things. So if an emergency were to happen like that, that's when we'll do that. Now, if an emergency happens non-bomb related, for example, if engine failure or something like that, where we have to jettison our stores, the bomb comes off safe. It doesn't blow up when it hits or anything like that. It just comes off safe, just like a piece of concrete, and it's no big deal. Now, EOD will have to go out and go get the bomb and go cordon off the area and make sure it's safe. But unless the bomb is armed when it comes off the aircraft, it's not going to explode when it hits the thing. It has the fuse has to be pulled for it to actually explode when it hits. So anyway, that's the quick and dirty. I just wanted to show you some of the video and stuff. I thought it was cool. It's been a while since we've done any flying stuff, and I thought it was a good way to start out 2021. So let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you guys enjoy it, and stay tuned for an interview with an F4 pilot. He flew F4s and then transitioned to the A-10, so I'm sure he's got some awesome stories. But hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Excuse me. Oh, no. Oh! Been a lot of that. Usually fly with the doors off. Don't be a douche. That's rule number one. So make them tell you no.